I don't know what I'm going to do if he hasn't picked up by tomorrow. So,
well, they'll come out, Mary, and talk to you. When we took Rupert for his injection during the lockdown, she came out to somebody who was before us, and she had a long consultation on the pavement, right beside vet. Yes, but at least it's a vet looking at your animal.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So.
Hi, everybody.
Jane.
Hi, Jane. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jane.
Jane, before we start, I don't know whether you got my email.
I did
but it's
reply,
just to let you know that I've got to leave early to go and get my COVID vaccine. So I'll just leave without saying anything so I don't interrupt the class. But could you record it, please, so that I can see it? Thank you.
Yeah, I did get your message, and I did reply, just so that you know it will be recorded, so not a problem. But thanks for letting me know. Okay, that's great.
Right. Max, you're too young for the vaccine.
I know I am. I don't know why they've chosen me.
Okay, then. Would you?
Jane?
Yes.
Yes, I've got a poorly dog in the office with me, so if I have to dive out, it's because I've got to go and see to the dog.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope nothing serious.
Something he's ate, so he's been poorly for a couple of minutes when he's been out and about. So,
well, this is what happens. Yeah, I've got a poorly one as well, and I've just found out how very expensive a poorly dog is. So it's frightening, the money that this dog's costing. But with every penny, if we get a successful outcome,
it is absolutely every penny.
Yeah. So fingers crossed that all the pets make a good recovery and get back to normal. Okay, hi Sam. We'll just quickly mark our register. Okay, everybody, so I'm just going to present my screen now. And then we'll just see what we've got to talk about. Right, okay. Right, so first thing I'll just point out, if you wouldn't mind just muting yourself, please, because it'll just get rid of that awful echo. That's lovely, thank you. Just to point out, no doubt you've spotted on the stream that it is the half-term holiday next week, so there won't be a class next week, but we will be back on Wednesday the 24th. Okay, so you've got lots of time to get on with work. So, what I just wanted to draw your attention to, just for a change to mix things up, I've included some photography notes from one of the advanced classes, just if you feel as if you could do with a little bit of inspiration, because photography is not always that easy during lockdown. The light has been really good this morning and lends itself very well to shadow shoots or shadow photography, so I've included that PowerPoint for you, and if you want to share any of your images with this group, let me know and I'll be happy to add some links. So maybe something that you're doing already, or maybe something that you just haven't done for a while. So I've just included that for you to take a look at. I've included a quiz. The quiz will be live, as you can see, at 2 o'clock. So that's just a bit of a Photoshop trivia quiz, but a little bit of fun. And you can let me know if you like the quiz or if it's something that you want to see more of. So I can certainly generate more if you like doing a bit of quiz, a few quizzes, and it's quite a good way to check on learning and just sort of to help you on your Photoshop journey, because it does help to consolidate what we've done over the weeks. So in our practical, we've got light spheres, we've got window view and fantasy landscape. Now, in window view, in that project, we're going to be using something called Blend If. So today, we're just going to have a look at how it works in practice. After the holiday, I'm going to go through it in depth. Okay, so this is just really for you to get a flavour of what we can do with it, but there's going to be more on that after the holiday. Okay, has anybody got any questions so far? No? Okay, we'll move on. Right, so we'll just move on and have a look at what we have to critique. So what did we learn last week? I'll start with Margaret Atkinson. Can you give me one thing you've learned last week, Margaret?
We did a Tokyo image that wasn't a very good one. We tried to improve that on making it more abstract.
That's good. And did you find that useful, or is it not something you would like to do in using your own images?
I probably wouldn't do it. No.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll just ask a few more people just to recap. Ian, anything you learned last week?
Yes, how versatile Adobe Camera Raw was. I haven't used it a lot, and it's improved a lot since I last did use it, and I think I'll use it a lot more.
Excellent. So that was in terms of the Mono Road project.
Yes, yeah, it's I've used it on another thing as well for my own purposes, but yes, it was. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Oh, excellent. That's good to hear. And asking Jeff Forrester, anything you learnt last week, Jeff?
Yeah, it was the shape reduction tool that we had a little go at, although it seemed to want to do it far, I tried it on a number of different images, and it seemed to want to do that. I didn't seem to get the option to just pick little bits out. It seemed to just go for it and do a really good job, but just go for it. Yeah.
It will do that, Jeff. It'll always go generally for a central point, but then you can drag out your own little selections, and then they will all be taken into account when it's time to do the final analysis, if you like.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying that, but it didn't seem to be good at it. I'll try it again.
Yeah, it will always start off though by taking a reading, and it's nearly always a central reading, and then you'll find that when you drag out your selections, they'll appear in the advanced section on the right, and then you'll see that the final result will kind of pull in all those areas. So when you select, you're selecting different areas of blur in the image, because obviously the camera shake's not going to be consistent throughout the whole image. So that's really the thinking behind it. But good to hear that a lot of you quite like that. Okay, so we'll move on. So critique, we'll just do a quick critique, look at points of learning and look at things to watch out for. We've mentioned the projects that we're going to do, we've mentioned the quiz, and also the PowerPoint on shadow shoots. Right, and I'll just mention that shadow shoot. So that is suitable for a range of levels of photography. So whether you're at intermediate or advanced, then techniques covered in that PowerPoint will be suitable for those levels. Not really for beginners, if we have any beginners amongst the class. So we'll start off with Anne's interpretation of the Tokyo project. So Anne really liked your colour palette that you used for this. So we haven't got that predominant blue coming through. Anything to say about that one? Are you muted, Anne?
Sorry.
Okay.
I followed the instructions and just played around with some of the controls just to see what happened.
And that's a really good thing to do, because that's how you learn, once you just start experimenting, making adjustments. So really liked your finished interpretation.
Thank you.
Well done, Anne. Next up we have Sam. So Sam's used one of her own images and applied the techniques to a really interesting shot here. Anything to say about that one, Sam?
I really like it. I'll probably put that on my wall. Yeah, it's just took like a really rubbish photo and just made it quite interesting and a bit, I don't know, yeah, very abstracty, urban-y kind of art.
It is. I think, another thing to consider if you take this sort of shot again, if you have a person standing here that you can take in silhouette, it would be quite a nice dynamic look for a personal website or a portfolio where you've got, say yourself, if you want to be in the shot, to be the silhouetted person standing there. So it's just another idea, but I really liked your interpretation, loved the colour palette as well, so excellent work there, Sam, well done. Margaret, you really went to town with this and created some lovely interpretations. Anything to tell us?
No, to start with, I thought I'll struggle to find any suitable images, but then when I started looking through, I found a few that I just tried different colour palettes and everything. I in a sense, I'm not quite sure how I would apply it to my own work, but I'd have fun doing it. I mean, I did. I quite like the effects you can get. I mean, that was Times Square. So I did enjoy it.
I much prefer the one on the right.
You what, sorry?
Much prefer the one on the right. So the edited of the rather than the original. It just sort of speaks volumes. There's more detail present, and the whole subject's really, really good. Very well done.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I deleted most of them. They were just so busy, Times Square. I think I've only got about 2 left because I deleted all the others. But it works quite well, I think, with that technique.
It brings it alive. I think that's the difference. It really brings it alive. But you sort of did another one which looks like a speedway, and you've got the feeling, the dust and the atmosphere. And so I loved that as well. That was brilliant. So this is really to inspire the rest of you that have maybe not sort of used the technique to the extent Margaret has. Just, this is just showing what you can do. And that I thought was really good, Margaret. And then this is Lisbon, maybe? Yeah. So really nice street scene in Lisbon. And again, it's just sort of brought to life in a different way. So,
it is, because the sky is all blown out on the original one. And it's not a very good image at all, really. It's not a good image. But it works quite well with that.
Yeah, great work, Margaret. Jeff, you used the basic technique, but we do have a lot of extra blue sort of flooding in at the borders. Was that a creative decision?
I did it a number of different ways, and that was the one I did prefer, but
And that's what it's all about, because obviously we're working with a very creative medium when we're using Photoshop, and ultimately it's your creative decision. So again, it's a different interpretation, and that's what's good about this. You can make the project your own, putting your own stamp on it. So well done. Cass, this was another really interesting one. Where we've taken a section from an image and applied the technique just to one section. That looks really good. Anything to say?
It was just one of those images that I would never really have looked at again. And I think by cropping it off and, the way I've produced it now, I think it's, yeah, I'm happy with it now.
Yeah, it certainly made much more of a feature of the lady on the left, and not kind of searching throughout the image for other things to look at, because there's a lot going on there, whereas now you tend to really focus on her, and plus the eye contact that's going on in the background as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Well done.
Thank you.
Ian, loved this. So it really brought the Apple Store to life. I'm guessing that's where you are here.
Yeah, it's the Apple Store that it just opened at Grand Central, and I like Margaret. I struggle to find images. I'm very delete happy if I don't like them at all, and I only kept this one because my wife was in it. That's all. But she was critical, said her arms look fat.
So is this your wife that's looking at you?
Yes, that's my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and she's just in Grand Central. It's I thought you wanted us to use one of our own images. Otherwise, I would have done the Tokyo Rose one. But I enjoy playing with it, and I quite like the effect it has.
It's better to use your own because you have to change the settings to suit your own image. So you learn more when you use your own image for these projects. But I really like I like the immediacy of this and that powerful eye contact, which is really lost in the store in the original. But in this one, the eyes have it, and that's what really pulls you into the image. So yeah, I found that quite powerful, Ian. I really liked it. Well done.
Well, as I say, I like it, but my wife says her arm looks fat, so we'll delete it.
Jonathan used a standard image. Anything to say? Did you like the technique?
Not really, to be honest. I think I've got enough images that aren't very good that just look for the ones that are better.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I follow the technique. I think it accomplished what you want.
You have, yeah.
Might have too much of a blue tinge to it, but no, it was okay.
Yeah, okay, well done, nicely executed, good work. Margaret, so again, just this one's been shown because it's interesting and highlighting different subject matter, so it's just a way of showcasing, I'm guessing, holiday photographs in a different way, and it kind of makes it more interesting for the viewer if every shot isn't representational and there's a bit of creativity going on there as well. So really like this one, Margaret. Anything to say?
I was quite pleased with. I've been trying to get something from that image because I love the circle, the slope of the little houses and the bird feeders, and it looks so much better in mono. But I've been really inspired by other people's images today.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to showcase how these techniques can be used across the different genre, and it just sort of opens up new possibilities when you see what other people have been doing. So I really liked that one. That was lovely, very well done. This one, again, this is a really good one. So just moving on, Margaret Atkinson. Again, anything to say, Margaret?
It was a very ordinary image, but I have to admit, when I started to play with it, I thought, it does look better than the original. So there is things that you can do with this process to make it better. And I guess making different colours and things, but I just kind of stuck to the blue because I like the blue.
Yeah, and it does work well given the tonality of the original shot that you've taken. So it does work well, that one. And I don't know, it just makes it a little bit different, doesn't it? Is it a holiday image?
No, it's me trolling the back streets of Newcastle.
Oh.
It was the project I was doing about Newcastle for to do with the camera club, and that was just me in the back streets.
Okay, so it's good shot.
I'm amazed at how much more detail there is in the modified images.
Yeah,
that you can read the writing clearly and everything looks so much sharper. It's an amazing difference.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comment, Anne, because I think you are pushing sliders to extremes, so you're aware that it is quite a destructive process. But if you've got an image that you're not really too bothered about, you can end up with something that's really quite striking, and we've seen some great examples of that so far. So everybody's done extremely well. Margaret Shepherd, again, this one's lovely in the revised version. Were you pleased with that?
I just wasn't ready for it to do what it did. I always struggle to find an image to translate your images across. And I'm just amazed looking at all the blues, all of the images we've looked at this afternoon. What a difference it makes just looking at the blues. Would it be as good in mono? Would they be as good in mono?
I think in some cases it depends on the image. If you processed, say, an ordinary holiday photo as a high contrast image, if, there is the detail between the lights and the darks and you've got a good dynamic range, then, yeah, you can come out with something that's equally striking in monochrome. But and again, it's like the choice of colour. I think, the blue is just like, blue's a very popular colour, but a very cool colour, and it just seems to have quite a powerful effect on people. Yeah.
I tried it in the red and I tried it in the green on both of them, and certainly the blue was hugely better. But it just seems, and it's been the same looking across all these images, the level of detail that you're looking at shape now, aren't you?
Yes.
Rather than colour. It's the shape, yeah.
Yeah, it's the formal qualities that we're really looking at, the shape, the line, the texture, and the colour to a certain degree, because, we're appreciating generally blue, apart from Margaret's red at the Speedway. So, yeah, it's, all the formal qualities of the photograph are being brought out really well, which is great to see. So excellent work, everybody. We'll just quickly go through Mono Road because there was a few things to mention with this. So, David, anything to say about your Mono Road?
No, I probably just went to the extreme with the sky a little bit. And I tried to lighten the river up a little bit, which I found a little bit difficult because it sort of mingled with the trees a little bit. So it was bright anyway, so I probably didn't really need to brighten it up too much.
Yeah.
But I was just playing around with the shades in the sky. And, yeah.
I like the sort of the contrast that's coming through here, because we've got some lovely light areas that have translated really well. The sky, is quite extreme. But the other thing I wanted to point out is careful with your selection, because if you don't get close enough, you can see we've got a little bit of a halo going on. And so the edges can be quite obvious. So, you just have to be careful when you do that selection of the sky, that step. Especially, it's more noticeable when you're taking the effect, to extremes to get that sort of mega blurred effect. Yeah. So just wanted to point that out. Jeff, anything to say about yours? Are you muted, Jeff?
Yeah, I was thinking, oh yes, this is a nice photograph taken somewhere in Northumberland, and then eventually my wife said, no, it's not. That's Ireland. But no, I think the sky in the centre of it just got a really interesting sort of bit like a volcano effect to it.
Yeah, and it's good because you can move that blur centre wherever it's most appropriate within your image. But what I'd say to everybody, if I didn't say it last week, is always to zoom right into 100% and really check those outlines if you've got hills or wherever your horizon line is, just to make sure that you haven't got any fringing or any little halos creeping in. And if you do have a bit of a line going through, you can always just use a very small brush and the clone tool and just sort of paint over just to get rid of that telltale sign. it's just really a point of quality that I'd like to mention. Really subtle effect achieved by Cass. So this was a really good one. Cass, anything to say?
I very much enjoyed doing it, and it was a shot that I had which I didn't really know what to do with very much.
Yeah.
It took me a long time because on the left-hand image you can see it's actually a really lovely sunny day. And by the time I got to the right-hand image, the sky was making it look overcast and dull. So I tried initially to sort of get rid of some of that brightness from the pebbles. I must admit, in the end, I cheated and dropped a bit further.
So
sorry.
All is fair in Photoshop. So again, a subtle effect is sometimes all that's needed. You know, you don't always have to push everything to extremes. So, you know, that's a good example of that. Anne, I really like this. So very powerful sky, really strong composition, that leading line coming in from the left corner, drawing you right into Dunstanburgh. So really like that. The only thing I would say, Anne, is when I looked at it closely, the selection doesn't appear to have gone around the castle and the tower, because we've got it's not as defined as in the original. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. And it's just we've lost it. So yeah, the sky is really powerful and draws you right in. But that's really just the only thing to point out there.
Thank you.
Joan, really nice image that you've submitted. Again, when I checked, it's just the fringing round the edges of the castle. So that would just be, there's quite a bit to do though, because obviously you've got the trees and things in the background. Were you pleased with the effect or not?
No, not really. I didn't like the sky, and I had to put a mask on to go around the top of the buildings because it had blurred the whole of the top of the building.
Yeah.
Even though I drew around it, it still blurred it.
Right, it shouldn't have done that. So, I mean, once you'd created your selection, because you've isolated the sky from the castle and the foreground.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, and then you duplicate the layer so it's independent of the castle.
There seemed to be like a line going behind the turret bits, the bits that were sticking up, like a line where the sky was.
I'm not sure what was going on there. It's difficult to say without seeing it, but you know what you've got to do is you've got to select all around here, around the castle.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, and so that you get that really good selection, and then that's just copied to another layer, and that's where the blur's applied to. So it's really getting that good selection that's key. And then, you know, the blur's being applied to a separate layer. So I'm not sure how you've had that line going through that you describe.
I'm not sure. I didn't save it as ESD because I probably wouldn't use it again.
Yeah. But, you know, this type of thing, you do get good images that work really well and other images that don't work quite so well. It's like all of these techniques. So, you know, maybe this one isn't one of the best ones to use, but nevertheless, it's all a learning process. Jonathan, this one, did you submit this one because it didn't have so much detail in the sky, or?
I was looking for ones that had a long road in them. And that one didn't have enough detail in the sky. I've since found some, not with roads, which would work beautifully, just walls in the Lake District, but I didn't have time to get it done. So it's not, the sky is a total failure because there isn't any detail in it.
Yeah.
It was a really misty day.
Incredible road, though.
Yeah, that was what picked up. That was in northern India.
Right, we'll just quickly look at the shake reduction because there was a few points that came up with this. So not really one of my favourite filters. Jonathan, you asked the question about whether it would work for wildlife. What was your opinion of it?
I thought it was partly successful. I thought it brought a little more detail out in the owl. I was disappointed with the photographs because I was in a good position and I thought I got everything right. The photographs were all a bit soft. So I thought it helped a bit. It
certainly looks better than the one that you started off with. You can certainly see more clarity, more definition, and it does look much better than one on the left. So it has done something. Yeah. Okay. Sam, anything to say about this one?
Yeah, it literally just sort of took an image that I thought was all right and just made it a little bit sharper. It wasn't like I took a photograph of what puppy and it didn't work at all because there was too much shake. So it was like very minuscule, like the changes.
So did you think it was worth using or not?
Yeah, I think so, but it's more for like making a good image just a little bit more sharper rather than taking like a ruined image and making it like look good. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yes, perfect sense. Okay, well done. And Ian, I know you said this is your wife's image, but it has made quite a difference.
Yeah, as I said, I'm quite delete happy. If I'm not happy with it, if it's out of focus, it just gets deleted. So I said to my wife, "Have you got a photograph that's not quite sharp?" And she sent one. It's off her phone. It's just one of the dogs.
Yeah.
But yes, it has made a difference. And I as I said in my little note to you, I'll use this more in. You take the odd macro photograph and the wind gets up and it just slightly blurred. I think I might use it with macro photography to sharpen things up.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'd like to see some of the results of that, especially anything that you're really pleased with. But I thought, for this image your wife's taken with a phone, there was a significant difference, and so I thought that was good. Joan, anything to say about this one?
It has sharpened it, but I wouldn't use it. I'd use Topaz instead.
Yeah, Topaz AI is particularly good and it has improved a lot over recent years. Editing has improved your original quite a bit. Certainly brought out the colour, the dark background, etc. As for shake, it does look sharper, but you have applied sharpening as well. So if I haven't mentioned anything that you've submitted, just take a look because I am giving feedback via the assignment submissions. So just have a look on Classroom, and you should also get an email as well if there's any feedback to actually look at. Okay, so we'll just move on now. And we'll take a look at this project. So this is quite an interesting technique. There's various websites you can subscribe to, like Flaming Pear, that will create this slight change to the instructions, so you'll see that within the classwork tab. Okay, no problems with that, or it's okay?
Jane, if you could post a video of this, I've made a right mess of it. It's too late to go back now. If you could post a video of it, I'd be very grateful.
Yeah, I'll do another one of it, just so that you don't have to go through everything on the class video. So I will upload a recording of the session, but I'll do a separate video of Fantasy Landscape.
Thank you.
I really like this effect.
I love it. It's one of those projects that I keep coming back and back to. It's just really unusual, and it's even better when you can do it yourself without having to subscribe to a website for them to do it for you.
Could you do it with a tree with a little bit of land in?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it with all manner of different images, just to experiment with effects and see, you know, what can be achieved. So, yeah, you could do it with a little bit of land in.
Jane, how do you get rid of the line between the two images when you've dragged it down?
So if you've got a little bit of a line, so depending on which of the reflection effects you've chosen, you may have no line, you might have a bit of a line appear. Just use your spot healing brush, and then you click to start the line, then go to the other end, hold your shift key down and click, and then it'll just take the line out.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, it's just basically a shift click that you need to do with that. Right, so...
And it's gorgeous. When you get there, Jane...
Yeah.
when you actually get there...
It's worth the trouble.
That is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a fun image. It's a fun project to do, and I think, you know, a project you keep going back to is one that you really like for good reason, and I think that you know, fits the bill.
Yeah, lovely.
But well done if you got there in the end. I will do a video on it though, just to clarify things. So I'm just going to quickly go over another technique, which is adding light spheres to your images. So quite a lot of the photographers have done light painting in various locations, and really wanted some way of using light painted images that they'd taken in different contexts. So we'll just take a look, and this is very simple. It's just using clipping masks in order to change the colour of some of the orbs that have been created. So we're starting off with a simple image of Fotheringay, and what we're doing is we're opening one of the light painted images, which is the first orb, which is the largest one. Again, you can just use your move tool. Or if you prefer, you can go the long way around as said before, with Command or Control A, then Command or Control C, go to the destination, then paste it in. If not, we can just use the move tool and then just simply drag and drop into the Fotheringay image. So because this is on a pure black background, and of course that's what makes the difference, we can just change the blending mode. So I could use screen or lighten, and you can see the difference between the two. Lighten just gives a bit more definition, so I'm going to use that one. To change the colour of the orb, we just need to go into the new adjustment layer, and then we're just going to pick up hue and saturation. And so because we don't want the whole image to be affected by that colour, we're going to add in a clipping mask. And so that's just going to restrict the colour to apply to the orb itself. And then we can just take our saturation up, and then we can see how that colour is changing and deepening, or we can go the other way. So hue is the actual colour, saturation is the intensity. So I'm just actually upping the intensity of that gold. So anything from 45 to 50 works pretty well for the first one. But of course, feel free to change the colours any way that you wish. So once we've got that first clipping mask in place, we can just move that out of the way and then go back and then open the second one. So the second orb comes in, and it's the same technique. So we're using the move tool, we click and drag up into Fotheringay, drop it down, go to the layers panel, and then change the blending mode to lighten. Using our move tool, we can just reposition to get that somewhere better within the picture space. And then we can pop in our hue saturation adjustment layer. So we'll pop that in now. And then this time, hue being the actual colour, we can just change that. So it all looks a little bit weird until we add the clipping mask in. So just going to get a nice colour here. And then pop that mask in, and then that just gives that orb a nice sort of purple hue. And then next thing we can do is just pop in the last one. So same procedure. So you can see there's sort of a pattern you get into with this, and then pick up all three and use move tool, and then click and drag into Fotheringay and drop it down. Change the blend mode, just move it into place, and then pop in another hue saturation. And then we can just change the hue. Add the clipping mask. And there we have it. So this is just a fun project. It reinforces the work that we've done in the past using clipping masks, and it's just another way to use any light painted images that you might have lying around if you've done this technique yourselves. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, if you painted a little bit of sort of brightness underneath those globes, would that sort of bring them down to ground so they don't look as if they're floating in the air? Would that ground them a little bit?
You could, yeah. If you wanted to add a little bit of shadow, then you can add that in as well. So yeah, by all means, you could just flatten everything, which would probably be easier, and then just with a soft brush, you could just paint underneath each one and just have a little bit of shadow. Yeah, you could certainly do that.
Thanks.
Okay, so that's the next one for you to take a look at.
Well, compared with the previous one, that was a doddle.
A bit of light relief, that one. Oh yeah, that one's really about reinforcing using clipping masks and, you know, the difference that they make when you just want to apply techniques to the layer below.
It just shows how far we've come, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. You've got a new vocabulary: clipping masks, trip off the tongue, adjustment layers, blending modes.
Yeah.
Is everybody just about there or not quite?
All done, but it does make a difference if you put a shadow underneath them. It does ground them down to the ground.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the previous images because I've got quite a lot of light painting on my phone, and you tend to, rather than have shadow, you have light in front of them. So that's the effect.
That's why I actively brush a bright bit in.
Yeah. So to be absolutely correct, it should, rather than a darker bit, it should be a lighter bit that you have in front of them. So I've got a lot of images here and they all look the same. They've all got this sort of, you see this brightness here, and it's just would be casting like a hot spot in front. So that's a good call, Mary, just to add a little bit of brightness in front of each one to be correct.
Yeah, I put a tiny little bit of brightness in front of them and then just a really, really faint shadow a little bit further away, and it just made all the difference.
Makes it look a little bit more realistic. So that's a good call. You've now made the project your own, Mary. Well done. Right. Is it okay to close this down now? Is everybody got there? Are we still doing that one? Some people are still doing it?
I'm fine.
Fine?
I'm fine.
Okay. Right, so just close down these. So the last one that we'll look at is really just the window project. And so we'll just open up these two. So we've got window 1 and window 2. And so using our move tool, we're just going to click and drag. So we're taking window 2 up and down and into window 1. And then you may need to just use a little bit of transform just to make that fit a little bit better. So just use Command or Control T to stretch that over a little bit. And then just click the tick in the options bar to complete. Right, so what we're going to just start off with is to have a look at how using Blend If can actually help us to discard certain colours in an image to make other parts of an image shine through, and you can obviously take this to extremes and paint on the layer as well. So we'll explain a lot more about the technique of Blend If after half term. This is really just to give you a flavour of what it can do. So the first thing that we're going to do once we've got these images in place, so we've got layer 1 above layer 2, we're just going to double click onto to bring up layer styles. So you can also use the layer menu and bring up layer styles that way. And we're working on the underlying layer. And what we're going to be doing is dragging the black point. So as I click and drag that black point, it's starting, you can see, to make visible parts of the layer below. So I'm just dragging it a little bit further. And so what you're actually telling the software when you're working like this is to discard any pixels that are this shade of grey or darker when we're pulling in from the left-hand side. So we're actually making visible what lies beneath. So as we pull, you can see that the numbers are changing. We'll just take that back a little bit more. Just my screen's being a little bit slow. So we'll just take that up a little bit further. So it's the black point that we're moving. So anything from 125 to 30 will work quite well here. And then we can, this is giving us quite a sharp cutoff. So if we hold down the Option key, we can see that slider is actually 2 sliders in one. So, so that you don't have such a harsh cutoff, we can now drag that other slider that's just been split to make a smoother transition between the dark pixels. So the same would apply if we were, say, dragging from the right hand side. So if we were working on the lights, whichever point we took the lights to, it would be the same thing. From that point, you're telling Photoshop to discard the light pixels from that point that you drag the whites to. But for this image, we're just working on the dark pixels and working on the layer beneath. So once we've done that, we can actually see we've revealed content in the layer below, and working on that layer 1, we can also pop in a layer mask. Then with our default colours selected, so just press D to make sure they're selected, and then we can select our brush tool. And then in the brush panel, in the choice of brush, we want a fairly hard brush. So using a fairly hard brush and a small size, and then the opacity in the options bar we need to take up to around about the 100%, and then we can just click to paint in parts of that window view that we should still be able to see. Okay, so that's the inside view. Then we can just again zoom in and then use a smaller brush just so that we can do this part of the window. So we click to start, go down to the destination, hold the Shift key, and then click just to do that part there, and then the same on the other side of the window. So it's a very useful technique where you're wanting to work with more than one layer, and perhaps you have a different sky that you want to really reveal beneath. So very useful technique. This would possibly, I'll just take that one down and reduce opacity because we're in a bit of shadow here. So again, just to make that a touch darker where the shadow is. Let's make that a little bit neater. So you get the idea. Again, I'm just going to click in there and complete that bit, but make it a little bit darker. So this is using the Blend-If technique, and it's just working with layer styles. To bring up layer styles, we just double click on the grey part of the layer. That brings up the layer styles dialog box, and we're working on the underlying layer in order to reveal detail in the layer below. Okay. So,
Jane, can you just show again how you split the bottom?
Yeah, so once it's split, you hold the Option key and you click in the middle, and then you can split it. And that, if you don't split it, you just get a very harsh line. So if it was, say, a circle with a gradient in it going from black to white with everything in between, all the shades of grey, if I just went from one shade to the other, it would just literally go black to white. But where you want that smooth cut off, that's when you do this and split that slider. Okay. So that's the next one just to have a look at.